Hello, 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 everyone. We should be coming to you live, and if everything is working correctly, I said the same thing last week. If everything is working correctly, we should be coming to you live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter for the STX Next live show. Here with me today is Łukasz Nowak, one of our service delivery managers at STX Next. How are you doing today, Łukasz?
I'm great. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Yeah, do leave a comment how you're doing today, just so we can also know that this is all working and you can see us and hear us. If we have any sort of issues like this, then it would be good to catch them early so you can have a great broadcast. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, first comment coming in. Let me just see it right now. Okay, Stina's saying that everything is excellent. That's good to hear you, Stina, and thanks for giving us that feedback. So our topic for today is problems with Scrum in large-scale organizations. And let's start like this, Łukasz. Who are you hoping that is joining us today that will benefit from what we're going to talk about?
Well, from the very beginning, I would add that this is the issues and the problems and the solutions I witnessed. That will be only my personal path of experience. It's not the perfect solution, but it could be helpful. For who? Definitely for those who start with 1, 2, or 3 Scrum teams, and quite soon they feel that it's not enough, and the IT organization will be growing quite fast. That's one group, and the other one for sure would be those people who are already in the environment when we have, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, or 20 Scrum teams, or even more, just to see what mistakes I was doing being part of such huge organization, and what steps we took to try to prevent the failure here.
Okay, all right. So, well, let's just get right into this then. You mentioned this is all based on your personal experience. So if you could tell our viewers a little bit about that experience. What did you do, and what is your track record in terms of many Scrum teams?
Yeah, I sorted it from the level of the impact, I would say. From the very beginning, I was out of the IT organization, being a stakeholder in the waterfall environment. So I know how it is to ask for the resources, to ask for IT power, and so on. I was responsible for delivering the trust and safety solution for one of the online e-commerce services. That's one part, still being out of the IT. Then I was responsible for the product approach in that organization. I mean, I hold the position of Chief Product Officer, being responsible for cooperating product owners and UX UI people. We had about 20 Scrum teams. So that was my part. The part of that Scrum teams was the product one. Then
so you went from one side of the fence as a stakeholder to the very other side of the fence, and then to the very top as Chief Product Officer.
Indeed, and it was aligned with the moment of switch. So from the very well-known and well-organized waterfall organization, the moment I changed the position, in the same moment, the company decided to go into the Scrum and started creating Scrum culture, started creating Scrum organization, launching first Scrum teams, and then the rest of the bunch were created.
Okay, so initially, like when you became Chief Product Officer, did you also take part in kind of forming these teams?
Indeed. When the company decided to go into the Scrum, at the first, the second, third, and so on, every new launch of the Scrum team was quite official. We gathered people together and explaining what do we expect as a company, what are the main basic goals of the given roles. Of course, it was prepared before that. I mean, all the company, all the people in the IT and the product part, we took part in the Scrum trainings, and we were educated enough. But still, it was a great moment to put the pressure to emphasize what's the most important, what's the crucial here, and the people in the first teams were working aside waterfall organization. That was much harder for them to be the first ones, to be the pioneers, still being part of the waterfall. They were first to show what Scrum is, what benefits it could bring.
Okay, all right. And what came after that? What else is part of your track record?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's sorted. So we have. Then I was a manager of the team. There was about 70 or 80 people, including engineers and developers. I was responsible for part of the e-commerce site, and then I was the product owner as well. I witnessed and I decided on which features and how my own money, being an investor in the startup, goes, and how it's spent and what kind of benefits it brings. I was also a project manager working for to support 5, 6, 7 people team, and someone who manages the Kanban chart, deciding what's crucial and what can wait. So that's me in different roles, in different environments, in different organizations. Yeah, that would be it.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like you explored all of the rungs of the ladder, although not necessarily in the order of bottom to top, but it's like you were the stakeholder first, then chief product officer, then product owner. So you got a taste of everything. Look, that sounds very interesting.
If you don't mind, being updated, and when it comes to the freshest news, I'm now I'm observing and I'm being part of the different approaches, which is visible on my present position, which is service delivery manager at the software house, and I see what different needs, what different approaches, sometimes biases, the clients of the company have, and I'm able to support them, help them sometimes to avoid things I did not avoid being on their side.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, this reminds me of last week's conversation with Marcin Zabawa. He's head of service delivery at our Wrocław branch, and he also mentioned that you kind of get a peek into many organizations and what they're doing in software development. And I just wanted to make a note here that, for you viewers, if any of this sounds interesting to you, either being a chief product officer, project manager, or a service delivery manager, or any part of what Łukasz just said, don't hesitate to leave us comments. Don't hesitate to leave questions, and we will address them. If they're relevant for what we're talking about right now, we'll address them right away. If not, we can always leave some of those for a Q&A at the end. So don't hesitate to do that and to ask about Łukasz's experience. In the meantime, let's get into the main subject then, shall we? So we're dealing with an organization that has multiple Scrum teams, and I'm just going to ask you, what are the major problems, or what kind of problems did you witness in large organizations using Scrum?
I would answer that I would start with the risks, because the main risk huge organizations face is the possibility to lose money, to lose time, and to lose opportunities. In many IT companies, probably the IT budget and the marketing budget quite similar, and are the most the crucial parts in budget itself. Mm-hmm. So the risk that those money and those people and all those investments spent on the IT could be, I would say, not used efficiently, is the main risk here. The issues I faced are, I would call them generally, misalignment and lack of common direction. When we have 20 Scrum teams, good Scrum teams working properly, there's the huge risk that some of them, or many of them, will choose the directions to develop the software which is not aligned with the main goal of the company, with the main strategy or tactics for the given year. Why is that? Because, as I mentioned before, when we were launching these Scrum teams, one of the crucial role in the Scrum team is the product owner, mm-hmm. And we were mentioning that that person is someone who decides which actions should be taken, which features should be developed, and how it will influence the common goal of the company. And that leads to the risk that some of the teams, some of the product owners will decide, I would call it not very, having in mind the needs of the product they're developing, or the tool that they are developing, not having in mind the main goal of the company, which is in most cases growth or boosting the revenue stream and so on. So the biggest risk is that all those 20 teams will not go hand in hand in one direction.
Okay, so they're going to go in different directions. So just two questions to clarify here. One, so you had around 20 Scrum teams, each with their own product owner, so 20 product owners?
Indeed, yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the as I mentioned, the Scrum transition, the Scrum revolution I was part of, we based on the literature and the knowledge it was back then on the market, which was the Agile Manifesto and the documents and trainings showing what Scrum is. Scrum meaning one mostly independent Agile team. Back then, there were no many frameworks that show how to coordinate, how to align 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 20 Scrum teams. It's quite different right now. So the risks, the issues, the problems I was a part of and I was trying to solve were we were trying to solve them using, I would say, common sense, and the feedback from the solutions we took. If it didn't work, we try a different approach. Nowadays, I think it's much easier, unless every organization has its own culture, has its own unique flavor, and it's not. I mean, not every model is applicable to every organization.
Okay, I see. And the second question I had about just the context of it all, so we're all on the same page, is all of those teams, were they working on the same product, parts of the same product, separate products?
So I will take a few steps forward, and I will describe how the approach we choose looked like. So
okay.
that was the e-commerce organization, so it was quite easy to slice the product. I mean, in the e-commerce, there's one very important, probably the most important KPI, which is the conversion. It's the number of the people who join the site. They go through the features, and at the end they purchase, or they come back with another purchase after that. Okay. So the approach we took, we sliced the funnel. I will try to draw it here. Oh, that's
yeah, there you go.
Let's have a funnel. So we sliced it. There was a bunch of the Scrum teams responsible for the first stage of the funnel, another one responsible for the second, and so on and so on. What's quite unique and what I liked a lot is the final layer also covered the KPI that shows how soon someone who purchased the item comes back to the site and decides to find something interesting again, which create a loop of that funnel. That's quite crucial. The approach we took as well was the setting the hard business goals for those layers. So, for example, the first layer was responsible for the conversion rate for people who join site, search for the item, choose the right one, and, for example, add the item to the basket. To move that moment to another layer of Scrum teams, every layer of the Scrum teams had its own number to grow, using their own Scrum teams, choosing what features should be changed.
Okay, so it's like one team or a couple of teams could have the goal of getting a lot of people who view a product to add it to their cart, and then there were further teams that were responsible for getting buyers from adding it to the cart to actually making a purchase, etc.
Indeed, and that's all. And we have here only the Scrum teams or the group of the Scrum teams, which took care of the things we see and the things that are clickable, I would say. And we have other teams who are responsible for the platform, who are responsible for the communication between services, modules, and so on, who are responsible for tools for developers. And those 20 teams I mentioned, they include all the features, all the needs, external and internal, that were visible, need to be covered by the IT organization.
Okay, so some of that work was on the parts that are not immediately visible to the user. Okay, that's clear to me. And now you mentioned that alignment is a big issue potentially for these teams. So I'd like you to, if you could elaborate on that.
Sure.
So, like, how did the alignment problem look like, and how did you diagnose it?
Well, reviewing different features the team were developing, or they developed, we realized that some of them are quite opposite. That team A is doing something quite and is hoping for achieve a goal that is quite opposite to the goal that team B, for example, was trying to achieve. So the main solution for that, the big one, was to describe and to promote the strategy of the company. I mean, every day in every company there are hundreds or thousands of decisions, small ones, medium ones, and if we lack the common understanding what the company is to do here, what's the goal, those decisions could be quite opposite, contradict. I mean, they can eliminate the influence of other decisions and so on. So I would start with the strategy. Why we're here, what is the role of the given department, why and what the IT should deliver to the customer or to the business partners or to the internal clients, as it is called somehow, sometimes in the corporate world. Understanding of that is crucial. Then we have second step, if we all know what should be done and why, is something that is quite opposite to the vision that we gave to the product owners. It's not like that in the huge organization, product owner can decide by her own or his own what to do. It's about I would say it frankly, obeying and being part of the decision that was taken a bit higher in and goes directly from the board or goes directly from the managers. How to do it? I would say to match the teams in groups to create someone who's responsible not only for the single team, but someone who will take care of the group of the teams, and will coordinate and will the brutal word, control the how the money and the time is spent in every sprint by those teams.
Okay, so did you have a name for this kind of role? I'm curious.
I believe there were those people were called product development managers, as I remember, and they were responsible for the layers I was trying to show.
So each layer had its own product development manager, and they were responsible for a few teams.
Yeah, the name of that role could be changed. It could be a manager for payment, for search engine, for solutions for buyers or sellers, and so on.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of the potential viewer here, and they might have this problem that you just analyzed for us, and they should go back to their management and say, we need a product development manager, and that person should do. And here's where I'm kind of drawing a blank. So how would you define the role of this product development manager? What would you tell them specifically to do?
Well, I would add from the very beginning, once again, that this is my personal path. This is what I experienced. Sure. I could be wrong right now,
sure.
but we took the steps that seem reasonable, and they worked. What I mean, in the companies, it's not always about democracy. It's about leadership. It's about taking sometimes tough decisions. And what I would advise is to try to unify the leadership or around the core of the strategy, around the most crucial features, the most crucial changes that will bring us the growth of the revenue, and focus on them. Don't try unless you feel really great in your core business. Don't try new ideas, new approaches, unless you're really good in your core business. I would say focus, leadership, and which is crucial here, the understanding why we're doing this and what we are doing, still providing to the team is crucial.
Okay, so it still kind of feeds back into the idea of building this strategy of why we're doing and why we're doing certain actions, what we're doing actually. And, did you take any concrete steps to arrive at this strategy? Did you have a process for that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was the first step was to create the strategy first, back then, years ago, and then we had the loop of updating it. We took different approaches how to set up the main goals. To do that, you have to first find your place and your share in the market, to measure yourself and check what's your advantage or disadvantage. Sorry, comparing to the competition, and that has to be taken not frequently, but from time to time. I believe for sure the big update was taken once a year, but I would advise 6-month periods to check if we are still on track, or if decision that were took a year ago is still valid and is still beneficial for the company.
Valid in terms of what the market's looking right now, what the competition is looking right now.
Exactly. I mean, the impact for the e-commerce sites generally, impact of the COVID-19 is a great example. I mean, market, especially in those cases, in this case, changed rapidly, and I'm sure most or all of the companies, not only offline based, but not only online based, but especially those who are threatened by the present situation, they have to change this strategy and decide if and how join online world to survive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, we're still, within the realms of this problem of alignment, multiple Scrum teams working on one product. And, this is an interesting case to actually take into account. So the strategy changes for, whatever reason. Well, this year, probably the strategy of a lot of companies changed due to COVID-19. So the strategy changed, and now you want to keep your teams aligned. So how do you get the change in strategy to the individual teams so they can all stay aligned?
I mean, it's a cascade. If we take the assumption that right now our strategy is changed drastically, we have to go into the different direction. It's a matter of creating the strategy, setting some numbers, setting some goals, for example, to have something to compare with, to have something to race for, I would say. And there we have a series of the numbers or KPIs that were cascaded down to those layers I mentioned before, and it's a great deal of work in every layer to create out of the strategy a tactics for the next 3 months or 6 months. What can we do? And the questions are quite easy. What can we do to change the KPI? What can we do to reflect change strategy and change direction in our own backlogs? Meaning backlog, I mean the group backlog for the given layer, but also in every Scrum team backlog, there's no place for the features, for the things that do not support common goal to grow or to survive in terms of the company.
Okay, so basically it's a cascade of changing goals and then multiple teams on lower levels asking themselves, what can we do to shift this KPI?
Indeed, and there's a magical moment when we check if the decisions were correct. I mean, we have a loop for the strategy, and we need to have a loop for the group of Scrum teams or Scrum teams as one to verify if the feature of changing the color of the button or adding some navigational feature or integrating with someone, does it really benefit? Does it really works? And if the KPI we are working on, is it changed?
Okay. So loops within loops within loops, because you have the.
Well, that's the beauty of Scrum. I mean, you can make mistake as long as it's checked quite soon. If you fail, do it quick and do it fast to have a second chance and third chance and so on. So yeah, it just works.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of this traditional graphic that's used to describe Scrum, that there's this larger loop of the entire sprint, but then there's the smaller loop of the daily Scrum. And then I suppose that kind of you miniaturize that and put it into the larger loop of the strategy of the entire layer and then the strategy of the entire company.
Indeed, the loop engine works in one team, and it works as well as we have a bunch of them, and in the company, on the company level, it's applicable and it's profitable as well.
Okay, great. All right, so I think in terms of alignment, I can't believe we're already half an hour in, but that was all super interesting. So if any of you have additional questions about alignment strategy, then feel free to ask those and we'll dive deeper very, very gladly. We'll still be with you for around half an hour more. But I assume alignment is not the only problem with Scrum teams in large organizations. So aside from this alignment problem, what other problems have you faced?
I would mention two of them more. I mean, there's plenty of them, but I would start. The second one would be very basic and very human, which is the question: is the work I do is useful? Is there a purpose of me being a part of the Scrum team, or the purpose of my Scrum team? And then alignment, organized alignment, and or organized explanation what we do and what your team does helps here.
So what you mean is matters related to motivation within the teams?
Yeah, I mean, to see that I am, as a person, as a human being, and my team, we are really doing something tangible, something significant, something that is a brick in the building, or in the building of a bridge, for example.
Okay.
But that we are really part of it, and that really, I would say, echoes in me as a person. I need and I want to be a part of something that is useful, fruitful, and tangible as well. The other approach,
I think that's something that everybody can relate to. So I was wondering if because I imagine this is a problem within teams. So how do you deal with motivation or demotivation within teams?
I mean, showing what's your role, showing what's your responsibility, what's your area of influence, and at the same time not hiding when someone makes a mistake or there is no result of the steps we take, but also celebrating when the decision was great and is visible. I mean, The transparency here is crucial, which leads to the information if there is a team which we're not very, I would say, we're not very lucky to choose the right path or choose the right right decision. And on the other hand, we have teams that really nailed down the leverage that works on the KPI. So celebrating the victories, understanding the failures is crucial here, and giving possibility to try again. And the look you mentioned works here as well, pretty great.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a natural step to celebrate failures and to learn from mistakes. So, what is your approach to both of those? For example, what do you say when you celebrate mistakes? Celebrate mistakes. When you celebrate victories.
I do it silently. Well, it depends on the culture, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and sometimes it depends on the culture and on the budget. It could be awarded with some financial or material awards, but I believe that it's not a bad thing. It helps, but distinguishing and showing the influence of the team or of the person itself, what's their footprint on the success, it's great as well. I mean, positive feedback is great here as well as the negative, but I think that transparency is crucial. I don't know if I answer your question. Please let me know. I would, if
well, okay. So I'm thinking, putting myself in this position for a second. Based on what you said, what I would do is, well, a material reward would be cool. I suppose, we could celebrate this with some sort of event, but at the same time, it's also a matter of really, illuminating the data for that team and for that person, and just saying, look, what you did moved our data. You found, like you said, leverage. And now, because of you, so many more people are, I don't know, adding their product to cart or actually buying the products that they added to their cart. So you tell me if I understood that correctly.
Well, that would be great to translate the KPI, which could be percentage or the number into the things or the items that are imaginable. For example, increasing the given KPI can lead to that not hundreds but thousands of the TV sets or mobile phones are being sold every hour or every minute, and showing that changing the code or adjusting or tuning and tweaking the feature leads not only to numbering of the to change of the KPI, but leads to hundreds, thousands, or even more satisfied or happy customers that will come back quite soon. That's one part, and we'll share this story of the great service that the company delivered as well. So numbers are great when you have to measure something, but showing the real, tangible face of that number is even better.
Okay, so think about all the items sold, think about all the happy customers, think about the businesses who, trusted this platform with selling their stuff, and now they managed to get a sale. I mean, maybe it was the first sale for a small business, and now they're super happy that they put it up, for example, on the platform. All right,
I would have even more applicable now example, which is, for example, the general fight with COVID. Imagine a company supporting the vaccine or the drugs or any way of healing. That's really something business-wise, I would say very, very significant. But on the other hand, it saves lives, it saves families, it saves economies of the countries, which is, being part of it and supporting them. That's once in a lifetime. You can build a bridge, but now you have opportunity to maybe not save the whole humanity, but supported in the really tough times.
True, yeah. So I wonder, because what you said is really, really relevant, and there's a lot of people out there doing great work in terms of, fighting what we're all really facing globally. And now I'm thinking of our own context. So, we're a software development company. So now that you're in your current role, it's maybe a little bit harder to make things concrete. So, what kind of tools do you use to visualize progress and celebrate successes for software development teams?
Well, I would start with the first meeting with the client, with someone who maybe will be our client, and in that moment we're always providing the best knowledge. We're not selling anything. We're just trying to give feedback, to provide advice, to really help the company we are meeting right now. It could lead to the deal, and we could be a business partners quite soon, but it doesn't have to. I mean, being frank, being honest, and using all your experience and the knowledge, maybe wisdom of the company is the only solution I think we can take. It's just human. It's just fair. Yeah. That's one thing. The other one, as we're always trying to provide a dedicated team to the customer, to the client. And dedication here means that they're focused on the client only, but also it's great to have an understanding what are the goals of the company, what's the strategy, what's the tactics, what are the most crucial steps the IT which we create faces right now.
Yeah, and I suppose asking these questions helps with motivation as well, right? If we ask, for example, our client, but it doesn't actually have to be that, but if you ask the questions, what is the most important, what will make the largest difference for your business, then the team knows that they're working on the stuff that's really, really important.
Well, yeah, indeed, and we have the customers on the different stage, on a different level of development. For some of them, it's about boosting the KPIs, as I mentioned. For some of them, it's about creating growth, not money yet, but growth for the possible investment. And we have the clients who just started, and it's a matter of providing our knowledge how to deal with the tough startup life, because we have clients as I mentioned everywhere and we learn from them. We see different approaches and different cultures. We can provide that knowledge to someone who needs it.
Okay. All right. So, okay, maybe I'll let us on a bit of a tangent here, because we were, I believe, talking about large organizations and about how they're dealing with multiple Scrum teams. So let's get right back to that. Okay. We were mentioning demotivation. I was asking about, kind of backtracking here, asking about celebrating successes and now learning from mistakes. I wonder how you deal with that.
Well, to be able to learn, you have to secure yourself the possibility of make failures, I would say. So the culture shouldn't support failures at itself, but should be tolerate that. I would say. And then again, that's quite boring, as I believe, because we have another options, another case when the loop is applicable. Every mistake should bring us to the lessons, and to, if it's not too late, and to try to eliminate the mistakes and take different approach to make it better. I would say, and I mean, so it's not about celebrating mistakes, I would say, but informing about them, analyzing why it happened, trying to provide information, what should be taken differently, what should be decided in the other way, and trying to tackle the same issue, but just with the different tools, with the different way, different approach.
Okay, so it's not about, well, I mean, celebrating mistakes with my slip of the tongue, but definitely you need to kind of give them the right amount of attention and, make sure that they're discoverable, right? Because if somebody makes a mistake.
Sorry. And it's really, really hard, I think, from the managerial point of view, to provide information about the mistakes and don't blame someone here.
Yeah.
And don't point fingers at the team or at the people who went wrong way. It's a really challenging role, and sometimes you can fail on that. But being honest and being fair and being transparent is crucial. I mean, we as a team, we will know who failed and what even if it's not official. So it's much better, it's much safer, and just fair to do it officially and share the knowledge. As in the IT in the environment, post-mortem documents are being prepared and being delivered and spread among the organization if there was a failure, but we know what happened and we know how to avoid it.
Okay, so it's about how to avoid this in the future and not, who did this and and why did they, I don't know, fail us or something. That's definitely not the way to go. Difficult to balance. That's definitely what I'm getting from this. And all right, I think, in terms of demotivation, that is some tips that, managers can apply. Is there anything else that comes to your mind within this area?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned two issues that could appear in such huge organization.
Yeah.
The first would be misalignment. The second one would be, I would say, mismotivation or some issues on that personal area. The third one, very, very technical, is that having so many independent teams, they can take independent technical decisions that could influence the swiftness of the platform, the easiness of development, and so on. So that part also needs framework or frame generally and the areas of the independence openly shown and limited by the IT leadership. So you can choose the technology, but you have to be aware that what it could bring with it, and or the variety of technologies that are applicable or available, and so on. That's also crucial. And missing that could lead to a bit chaotic organization and expensive development.
Okay, so, well, certainly that sounds like something to be addressed. And then how do you do this? How do you set the boundaries of, teams being able to make some technical decisions, but then, not making decisions that influence the whole in a negative way?
It's very easy. You have to have the best people in the market. The smartest one. I mean, it's like imagine choosing the technology is comparable to choosing the main engine or the main way of designing engines for the automotive company, or it's quite similar. Sometimes the direction you take, is it left, right, or straight, really influences not the months but the years that are in front of you, and you have to be prepared, employee-wise, technology-wise, and so on. So the architects, the CTOs are the people who really have to be the brightest minds in the industry, not to take the wrong turn.
Okay, so, but then I'm thinking, so the CTOs and the architects need to make the right decisions, but then is there some kind of threshold for this? For, like, I don't imagine, but correct me if I'm wrong here, that a team will have to consult the choice of every library with a CTO or somebody higher up. So is there some kind of level at which this becomes important?
Well, what works is a guild of the people who are the most experienced, like the tech leaders or architects, and someone who can, in the moment and the time and the place where they can challenge one another, when they can discuss, when they can decide what direction should be chosen. And what I witness in the companies we are the IT partners is that there is a way to do that. I mean, there's no special guild of the architects, but there's a mechanism of preparing your own solution and defending the solution you chose, and it is being challenged by the rest of the IT organization. If that library, for example, you mentioned, is it the right solution for the goal we want to achieve? And it's usually just a discussion, an interview, a challenge, sometimes a fight between the solution and the people who want to be the devil's advocate and find any possible issues with the solution the person is proposing. So that's other approach. But yeah, to choose the right step, to choose the right direction, you need someone with the vision, with the knowledge, but also a place, a time to challenge that vision and challenge that knowledge, and discuss other options as well. There was a saying which I like a lot, which is no friction, no shine. So it really needs to be not extremely dramatic, but some friction is needed.
Okay, so there needs to be some sort of structure or process in the way that I'm thinking of a technical decision, then I go consult the guild within the organization. Or I'm thinking of a technical decision, so I need to be able to prepare to defend it in this kind of trial process, or potential kind of argumentative process that you mentioned. And this kind of brings me back to another thing, which, well, you mentioned a bunch of different situations in which I think there's the potential for conflict, right? Teams, even within a certain, like a certain group of teams, they want to take the product in certain directions. So I think there's a lot of potential here for conflicts. And how do you deal with conflicts within or between teams?
The approach I mentioned before, like the isolating the areas or isolating the layers helps here, because I know I'm responsible from the point A to the point, I would call it E. The rest of it is the responsibility of the other team. I'm not going to force them or to do any invasion on their area. Transparency is crucial when we have a discussion within the group. The clear and open goals that company is going to achieve. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but this is really how it works. Being open, being transparent, being able to discuss, and the experience you have to be convinced by someone else that the option you are forcing is not the best, and being ability to change your mind, that's crucial here. Okay,
so thinking in concrete terms, because I was thinking, well, what you said probably applies to both the conflicts like within a team, listening to people with a different opinion or people who are more experienced. Now I'm thinking, when you have, like, for example, two teams, separate teams that are in conflict with one another, is there any sort of special, practice or process that you apply to situations like this? Do you have like a third party to arbitrate, for example?
Well, no. I mean, the leadership here is the place or the moment or the mechanism that should solve that problem, and that's also visible in the other large Scrum teams models as Scrum of Scrums or less or safe. At the end, there's someone, or there's a group of people who decide It's just a matter of the culture. It could be one person, or it could be done after a discussion with others. But responsibility has to be shown directly, and it shouldn't be hidden somewhere in between the groups or the people. At the end, there's someone or a group who decides which way should we choose.
Okay, so there's always someone. Yeah.
Even if it means that, for example, we have to drop the project, or we have to drop the feature which is partly developed, and we as a team, we got involved. We are dedicated to that. We are sure it will work, but someone who has a bit wider view or and has a bit more power decides that we have to drop it, that we have to cancel it, and that means that months of our work could go to the drawer, I would say. But it's all about understanding the company, understanding the changing needs and goals in the market.
So what would you say to a team like this? A team that spent, so many weeks or sprints developing, and now it needs to be discarded?
I would say what I feel, that is really sad. I mean, but that we have to discard the months of your work, but it also means that the significant amount of money and time the company provided for that change was applicable. But back then, it was justified to spend that money, but it's not right now. The market has changed, and it doesn't have to be COVID. It could be different things, and I would say it happens from time to time to any one of us. So unfortunately, and I'm very sad that it happened to you. But the most important thing is to show what's the next big thing, what's the next feature, what's the next mechanism we will be focusing on, and how that new thing will influence us as a company and our goals that we have. Being sad and being sorry and being and showing compassion is important here, but justifying what's next and how and why it should be replaced, it's even more important.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for that answer. And for me, it kind of, in my mind, it relates back to, to the strategy, to the direction, right? As long as the teams know that there is a direction, that, there is some sort of plan that the company wants to follow here, then I suppose that, that helps in that sort of situation.
I mean, being humble and being human works on every level of being a part of the company, and being transparent, saying why is crucial, just to create the understanding and to set the fire again within the hearts of the people. That's it.
Okay. All right. Look, we're approaching the end of our hour here, so I see basically two ways for us to go. We can either start to, summarize a little bit all that we said, or maybe there's another problem, with Scrum teams and large organizations that I haven't asked about yet that you would like to talk about. So, which one would it be?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, we were quite old company, but the Scrum was young back then when we decided to go into that. And I am a big Scrum fan, or generally Agile. And what the mistake we made was that we were very strict, and I would say even very religious to the Agile manifesto and all those rules and all those informations and the connections and relationship between roles within the team and between teams and so on and so on. But I think it was quite normal to, without the knowledge that we were able to experience by ourselves, we stick to the books. And I would say, as long as Scrum works, stick to the book and rely on the manifesto. But when you see that something is not working, try to fix it. Try to tune the process as soon as possible, and be aware that it could be a mistake. So we have to monitor, check if it works, and just try another approach. That's why Scrum is just one of the tools that could be applicable, and to be efficient, it should influence the culture of the company, not only the separated part, which is mostly IT. What I witness and what I really admire is using Scrum in a non-IT organization, which I heard about the case in one of the leading banks in Poland, global banks, is using Scrum for the business teams as well, delivering the solution, analyzing the options, and providing the information, and at the end, creating the change and making the product better. You don't have to be developer or part of this IT Scrum team to do it properly.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like an interesting case in itself. I mean, within our humble marketing team, I like to think that, we work in sprints, but we still have a long way to go. What you're saying also reminds me somewhat of what Marcin Zabawa said last week. Have a process, but always apply common sense and always have a feedback loop to improve the process. And I suppose Scrum is no exception here, right?
I mean, having in mind that we have 20 Scrum teams and the salaries that we as a company are providing to the people monthly, and the possible missed opportunities because we decided to go the wrong direction. I mean, the weight of that decision, the possible influence of that is enormous. So you have to really be humble and be sensitive, and not to hide if there's a failure, just to try different approach and hope for better.
Okay. All right, so we're really approaching the end of our hour here. So let's try to kind of gather all that we laid out and kind of put it in a nutshell. Some of the people tuning in here are going to be technical managers. Some of them are dealing with the problems that we described. So teams that are not aligned, teams that are demotivated, teams that may have to deal with direction changes. So after seeing this live stream, what do you think managers will do, those that are dealing with Scrum in their large organization?
What I would do is talk to the people, check if they are still in the company. I mean, if their minds and hearts are there, is the goal or the story that company is providing to the world, is it still valid? Is it well known? And is it something that people will follow? When you have 20 Scrum teams, I'm sure you already, or more of them, you already checked all the frameworks of managing so many teams. So that's already there. I would use those frameworks as a support and as a help, but still be sensitive and use plenty of common sense applying them. And find out and remember what's valuable in your culture. Try to boost it and not waste it just because of the framework change.
Okay, all right. Well then, I suppose that encapsulates that what we had to say here. Unless there's anything else you'd like to add, I wouldn't want to kind of cut things short here.
I'm fine. Thank you.
I'm fine too. I'm really glad for this conversation, and always, even though, myself, I'm not a technical manager, there's always a lot of stuff that applies really, really, broadly. And I think I'm going to remember just what you said about being humble and open, right? That it helps with most situations.
I mean, it's a moment where two really, I said too many things crucial, but really important parts meet. The business goal, money and time on one hand, and human approach and our basic needs. When we merge them, when we find the right channel to provide them parallelly, it's then we will know it's the right direction.
Okay. All right. Thank you for this, and thank you for spending an hour here with me, just sharing everything that you know. If you're watching this and you're curious about what Łukasz just said, even if you're watching a recording, leave a comment, all right? And we'll get back to you with everything that you might want to know here about Scrum and large-scale organizations, or anything else that Łukasz mentioned here today. In the meantime, well, thank you a lot for joining us here. I hope you're going to follow us wherever you're watching. Follow us on LinkedIn. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to STX Next on YouTube. The banner says on LinkedIn because our best stuff is on LinkedIn, really. We post there the most often, so you'll get our best stuff there. I hope you'll join us there. If you're watching this on Twitter, though, follow us on Twitter. That's also fine. And don't forget to follow Łukasz as well on LinkedIn. He shares his knowledge from time to time. I'm planning to have some clips made from the best things that you've mentioned today, and I think there's going to be plenty. So yeah, anything else you would like our viewers to do here, Łukasz, before we end?
No. I mean, I hope all the mistakes I made were quite beneficial for you. I'm sure you will have your own ones quite soon. So it's a matter of learning and looping.
Yeah, learn from your mistakes. All right, that'll be everything. And on some platforms, if you're watching this, it might be a little bit abrupt when we end, because I know there's a bit of a delay, which is why I'm talking kind of excessively here to account for this delay. Well, once I'm done, kind of spending the next 20 seconds just saying whatever, we're going to end the stream. So thanks a lot for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.